More than 100 days after Hurricane Ian,
Yeah, I was in deep.
a storm victim leaves a hospital for the first time. Local mayor
Americans need leadership.
taking center stage in our nation's capital. The Heat jumped out to an early lead before trying to hold on for a win. And the sights of South Florida.
Well, we've been doing the Art Deco weekend since we lived in the beach.
Taking a closer look at the art of Art Deco. These stories and more coming up on Newsbreak.
Good morning, South Florida. I'm Samantha Gutierrez.
And I'm Julian Davis. Today is Thursday, January 19th, 2023.
Live from the South Florida Media Network's Biscayne-based studios in North Miami, this is SFMN Newsbreak.
Hospital 100, a woman injured in Hurricane Ian spent more than 100 days in the hospital. After all that time, the woman finally got released this week.
The network's Christopher Larson has her story from the control center.
Sue Martin is what you find when you search for the word survivor in the dictionary. She spent 107 days in the hospital, recovering from injuries she sustained during Hurricane Ian, but remains cheerful and in good spirits. She was found under a mattress that had pinned her to the ground.
Whoever holds the ceiling up was on top of her. When I moved her, she yelped loud and told me, "Don't touch me!" And I said, "Miss Sue, it's Melody." And her exact words were, "My angel."
Melody described how she and a man with a pickup truck created a makeshift ambulance that they used to take Sue to the hospital after rescuing her. Sue describes how her angel Melody gave her a new lease on life, for which she is extremely grateful. Sue's son believes that what happened to her may have actually been a blessing in disguise.
I really think, this underlying problem got fixed by this tragedy.
The reason it may have actually been a blessing in disguise is that doctors also found out that Sue had an aortic aneurysm and dementia, but at least now they are aware of it. After leaving the hospital 107 days after going in, Sue has decided it is time to leave Florida and to leave the past behind.
Sue left Florida on Saturday and flew to Indiana to live with her sons, but she gave Melody a big hug and kiss before leaving her angel behind. In the control center, Christopher Larson, South Florida Media Network.
New money this morning on the way to hurricane-damaged parts of Florida. $100 million is being awarded to restore the state's beaches in the December 2022 legislation. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a grant granting $100 million, which these funds will support the county's beach erosion projects. They are helping to restore the beach sand in the 16 counties across the state distressed by the hurricanes last year.
This morning begins day 2 of the United States Mayor Conference in our nation's capital. As Rachel Costa from our DC Bureau reports, it's being led by one of our local mayors.
Wednesday marks the start of the 91st winter meeting of the U.S. Conference of Mayors as they arrive here at the Capitol Hilton Hotel in Washington, D.C. Key issues to be discussed include mental health, public safety, and homelessness.
Americans need leadership and they need authenticity. And that's just simply who we as mayors are.
Conference President Miami Mayor Francis Suarez spoke in favor of funding and supporting the police to ensure public safety and criticized the lack of action on the immigration issue.
And I think it's clear to everyone here that the status quo is simply unacceptable. Unchecked immigration places a tremendous burden on our cities. This pressure is often driven by our hemispheric neighbors who have prioritized ideology over the well-being of their people. We need to recognize this threat and give it the importance it deserves within our foreign policy framework.
A panel with members of the U.S. Latino Alliance of Mayors discussed the importance of the Latino vote, which has grown since the 2020 presidential election. According to Pew Research Center, Hispanics now make up 14% of the U.S. voter population. According to the agenda, during the last 2 days of the meetings, mayors will hold special sessions on the fentanyl epidemic, LGBTQ issues, and mass shooting responses. On Friday, they're expected to meet with President Biden at the White House. Reporting for South Florida Media Network from Washington, D.C., I'm Rachel Costa.
The clock is ticking this morning on the nation's debt drama. The U.S. is expected to reach its borrowing limit by the end of today, and the U.S. Treasury Department will have to enact extraordinary measures to postpone a default. The debt limit was established by Congress and is the max amount that the government can borrow. The Biden administration is calling on lawmakers in Washington to come up with a solution.
Officers discover a dead body in the backseat of a car in Kentucky, and they say that a man from Florida is behind it. The suspect who led the police on a chase is from St. Petersburg in the Tampa Bay area. It was supposed to be a routine traffic stop in Richmond, but the driver took off. When they finally got him to stop 40 miles later, police realized they were barely touching the surface. The driver is under custody and is being questioned at the London State Office Post. Police are trying to find out more information about the woman's death.
A person of interest from the deadly MLK mass shooting has been identified. Fort Pierce resident Frederick Lamar Johnson Jr. turned himself into authorities yesterday in connection with Monday's shooting, which killed a young mother and wounded 11 people. Johnson proclaimed his innocence moments beforehand through a Facebook video. Authorities say they can prove he was in attendance during the gunfire.
The Heat scored 70 points in the first half alone, but could Miami hang on for the win on the road?
That's still ahead, and so is the story.
Well, we've been doing the Art Deco weekend since we lived in the beach since 1984.
Next time you're on South Beach, take a good look around or stay with us as we get up close and personal with Art Deco architecture. Stick around, we'll be back in just 2 minutes.
Type 2 diabetes can have a big impact on your life. But how can it be prevented? Well, the first step is knowing if you have something called prediabetes. Take the 1-minute risk test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. Through a nationwide network of food banks, Feeding America serves virtually every community in the United States. See how you can help your community. Visit feedingamerica.org.
If a natural disaster shows up at your doorstep, you can't just turn it away. That's why it's important to prepare for emergencies before they show up. Go to ready.gov/plan to find the tools and tips you need. And make a plan today.
You really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The style of Art Deco has become synonymous with South Beach. As Ocean Drive clears up after Art Deco weekend celebration, residents can appreciate the Miami staple.
The network's Lauren Words take us on a dive into the history of South Beach.
Miami's Art Deco historic district boasts colorful buildings, interesting architectural elements, and a century-old history that offers a glimpse into a bygone era.
Well, one of the reasons is South Beach has become an elaborate place to visit is we have the most amount of Art Deco buildings in one place in the world. In 1926, there was a hurricane, and it wiped this place clean.
Decades of neglect nearly caused Miami's Art Deco scene to be demolished if it weren't for a preservationist named Barbara Baird Capitman.
And where everybody saw a seaside slum, she saw a seaside resort that had the potential to be rebuilt. And so she founded in 1976 the Miami Design Preservation League and started cataloging the buildings. And by 1979, she'd done such a great job that this was the first area of 20th century buildings that got put in the National List of Historic Registry.
The styles from the 1920s and 1930s remain vibrant thanks to the Miami Design Preservation League and throwing their annual Art Deco weekend in order to preserve, promote, and protect the history behind Miami Beach.
Well, we've been doing the Art Deco weekend since we lived in the beach since 1984. So we have several of these posters and we participated in all these events.
There are many new things here that draws people's attention to come and visit, and they're always constantly building new things and modernizing other hotels every few years. And it's incredible to come back and see what new buildings they have or how they remodeled other buildings. And I think that's why people love to come to Miami Beach or Lincoln Road, because you never know what new things you'll see.
Located on Ocean Drive and 10th Street, the Art Deco Welcome Center serves as a starting point for historic guided tours through Miami's Art Deco District. For South Florida Media Network, I'm Lauren Wirtz.
The Miami Heat having a party like it's Mardi Gras after a great win in the Crescent City against the Pelicans. The Pelicans couldn't handle the Heat and had their wings clipped throughout the entire game. Starting off strong, the Heat scored a collective of 70 points in the first half and continued to only extend their lead. The final score was Heat 124, Pelicans 98. The Heat will go to Dallas to play the Mavericks tomorrow at 7:30 p.m.
That's all the time we have for Newsbreak. I'm Julian Davis.
And I'm Samantha Gutierrez. Get more news anytime at sfmn.fiu.edu.